Welcome everybody to this tutorial section again on HSS 121 Lagos and its environs up to the 19th century. Today we'll be considering another topic, the economy of Lagos up to the 20th century. Do not forget to like, to share, and to subscribe to this tutorial section. So we've noted in our class that environment play an important role in the economic activities of pre-colonial states in West Africa. Unlike the topography of the forest and savanna regions suitable for the growth of various agricultural produce. For instance, Lagos was famous for hunting, fishing, and agricultural activities such as pepper and later cash crop due to the nature of its environment. So we've noted also that hunting and fishing were the major occupation of the people of Lagos, beginning from the founding of the territory by the Aworis, a sub-Yoruba group. Because of the nature of the environment when the people came, the only thing the Awori could do to make sense of their livelihoods was fishing activities because of the availability of water. And I think it was as a result of the necessity to produce some agricultural commodities, crops that actually propelled Aromire, one of the children of Olofin, to cross the water to Ebutero, where is now the guy Idungora, where he established a pepper farm. We've noted that other economic activities which the people of Lagos engage include smithing, salt making, wine tapping, and a wide network of trading activities that involve not only daily or periodic market, but also short and long distance trade activities. We've noted that by the 18th and 19th centuries, slave trade became an important feature of the economy of Lagos because of the burgeoning inflow of slaves through the ports of Lagos and also Badagry. So Lagos was, however, more popular for its trading activities, both as a center for domestic and foreign trade, but also as a major center for slave activities, slave exports in West Africa. So Lagos traded, apart from this, also traveled in canoes to neighboring communities such as Badagry and Ada, and to towns and villages situated along the northeast extreme of the Cradle Lake, where they purchased slaves, clothes and other articles of domestic consumption. Another thing we noted is that long before the slave trade, Lagos was a useful venue for the trade in articles of domestic consumption, which within the reach of the common man, such as smoked fish, dried meat, gari, yam, flowers, and other agricultural products. And these actually were some of the major economic or commercial activities of the people of Lagos. There were quite a number of major markets in Lagos. Major markets during this period were the Ebutero market and Obueko markets, which had been established during the pre-colonial period. The Ebutero market was particularly noted and known for its popularity with people from far and near who came to trade in Lagos. And in addition, there was the Obueko market, which was perhaps established by the Jebu migrants and settlers in Lagos. This the fact that the word Obun, the name market was named Obun, actually reflects or suggests that the market was established by the Jebu people, because the fact that the word Obun means market in the Jebu dialect, and unlike other Yoruba who call market Oja. So this suggests that the proximity of Ijebu to Lagos also attracted a large number of traders from Ijebu to Lagos, perhaps through Ekpe and Ikorodu. So during the pre-colonial period, these markets served as daily and periodic purposes. For instance, the Ebutero market served daily purpose, while the Obueko market was a periodic market in Lagos. So the daily markets were operated by Lagosians, where articles of trade like goods, perishable goods and non-perishable goods were exchanged. The mode of exchange during this earliest period was simply barter until cowrie shells were introduced as a major means of exchange. And in weekly or periodic markets, articles such as clay, pots, cutlass, gari, yam flowers, dried and smoked fish, of different types were also traded and or exchanged in all of this market. As I've mentioned, the slave trade was equally an important factor in their commercial or economic development in Lagos. During this period, young men and women were easily exchanged for European goods such as umbrella, like gin, rum, mirror, clothes, textile, shoes, and what have you. So the slave trade dominated other forms of commercial activities in Lagos during this period. The major effect of the slave trade on domestic economy was the decline of the trade in other articles, especially in markets, because of the insecurity associated with the period of the slave trade. Between 1840 and 1850, the Lagos experienced a major change in its commercial relations with the outside world. The abolition of the slave trade and the beginning of the development of a new trade. That means the commodity trade, known as legitimate trade. Agricultural produce like palm oil and palm kernel were traded in Lagos. Cocoa, the two trade, that is the slave trade and the commodity trade, coexisted in the 19th century uneasily, especially during the first half of the 19th century. However, subsequently, palm oil trade and cocoa came to replace the obnoxious slave trade. And trade in palm oil was, of course, unable to make any significant progress until the latter part of the 19th century. From the 1840s, through the combined anti-slavery lobbies of the humanitarians, the merchants and manufacturers in Britain, it was possible for the slave trade to be discouraged and altered in Lagos. So the British government was urged to to act in support of the new trade in palm oil. So such that in 1851, the British, as a result of the refusal of several actors involved in the slave trade to relinquish their interest in the transatlantic slave trade, Lagos was bombarded, in 1851, as we noted. And of course, the trade in palm oil and agricultural produce subsequently developed rapidly. They boomed, especially with the presence of the British, which offered valuable protection to the British merchants and other indigenous traders in commodity produce. So the introduction of steamship in the trade between Europe and West Africa in 1852 also created an atmosphere for the development of palm oil trade in Lagos. From 1850 onwards, we've noted that the relative peace in Lagos also encouraged the growth of agricultural commodity produce, which formed the major exports of the settlement. And during this time, both Europeans and African merchants were largely involved in this agricultural commodity trade, such that in 1850, several firms, for instance, the London firm of Thomas Oates and Company, took steps towards opening up palm produce trade in Lagos and also in the interior. This was followed by other European trading firms which established their factories of trade or trade stations along the shores of Lagos Lagoon and reaching Calabar and other parts of what became known as Nigeria. So this trade from Lagos grew rapidly in importance because palm oil was in demand as a lubricant for the industrial machines in Britain, of course, following the Industrial Revolution, and it was a major raw material of soap and other commodities produced in European factories. So African participation in the export trade grew drastically from the second half of the 19th century. Those Africans, mainly of Brazilian and Sierra Leonean origin, used their African connection with their brethren in the Yoruba hinterland to act as middleman between the Europeans and Africans. So they sold their palm oil, for instance, regularly to British firms from whom they received imported goods, which they also traded in the interior. So in the course of time, we've noted that a few of them were able to compete with their European counterparts in the import and export trade, importing goods and exporting other items. Prominent among these African elites who participated in this import and export trade were Mr. R.B. Blaze, C.J. George, J.O. George, J.J. Williams, Mohammed Shitabe, J.S. Lee and R.D. Wright. These were some of the repatriated slaves, who contributed enormously to the commercial development in Lagos. So the commercial community in Lagos during the 19th century was made up of four distinct groups. The first were the Brazilians, mainly the ex-slaves, former slaves, who had been freed and returned to the West African coast. Many of them settled in Lagos, as we have noted. The second was made up of liberated Sierra Leonean slaves and their descendants who had made their way back from Sierra Leone to Yoruba land, especially settling in Lagos. And the third group of merchants in Lagos was drawn from the indigenous population of Lagos itself, the political class in Lagos and the business class, the elite, including the Idaho chiefs. So these were the white cap chiefs, the traditional landowners of Lagos, as well as from the communities in Yoruba hinterland, such as the Ijebu and Egba, while the fourth group of merchants in Lagos were the Europeans who dominated the trade. And we've noted that about 75 to 80% of Lagos trade in this period was conducted by barter. That means this was a rather clumsy system in which African produce and traders brought in their goods by canoe and head portraits, exchanging them with other commodities. And they had little opportunities to determine or refuse the price dictated by the middlemen or the European manufacturers. So the commercial activities was also limited by a number of factors because of the nature of exchanges between the Africans and the Europeans. We noted that the major import of the period by the Europeans were alcoholic drinks, guns, assorted fabrics, tobacco, jewelries, various household goods, and textile. And these other European business interests also established their presence. Germany attracted, for instance, a large share of the trade because of a monopoly of palm kernel and imported spirits, while England dominated the import trade through its supply of cheap cotton. And we've noted that with regards to market, the colonial period in Lagos also was known for the trade in export of ivory and other agricultural commodities. So there were quite a number of indigenous markets established before the colonial period and even during the colonial period. All of these markets existed and also contributed to economic development. The major market in the city of Lagos and other areas that we noted in our class in the post-colonial period include the Sangus market, the Jankara market, the Awolowo market, Mushin, Alakoro market, Ojuwoye market, and Ejirin market in the Epe district of Lagos. The Ejirin market was particularly established before the colonial period, but it came under the Colonial of Lagos after the British annexed Lagos and the Ijebu expedition of 1892 and the official inclusion of Epe as part of British area of jurisdiction in 1893. So this actually brought about the influx of Ijebu people into Lagos, trading and contributing to economic development in Ejirin and several markets in Lagos. We noted that during the colonial period, the Ejirin market became more popular as a port and inter-kingdom markets where traders of other parts of Yoruba coastal communities converge to trade and exchange their commodities. Even European goods could be procured at this market and other various markets. So commercial activities continue to grow in Lagos as many European trading firms join the ones they already met on ground. Some of the European trading companies we noted that played active role in economic development were the Royal Niger Company, which later changed its name to the United African Company, AG Leventis, and among others. So indigenous merchants and traders continue to grow in numbers and strength despite the colonial policies, which were not so favorable to the activities. So the colonial period also witnessed the development of widely acceptable currency as medium of exchange in trading and commercial activities. Of course, being a British colony, the pounds and sterlings were introduced as the major currencies. The colonial period equally witnessed the establishment of financial institutions such as banks, and in 1891 the first Bank of Lagos was opened by Mr. G.W. Neville, and this bank, as we've noted, became the Treasury Savings Bank, which on the attainment of independence was changed to the Bank of West Africa and later Standard Bank of West Africa. So what we have also noted is that African produce traders from the interior continue to bring in their agricultural produce and other commodities to Lagos, either by canoe or by air porterage. And these markets, this method of transportations were supplemented subsequently with the development of infrastructure, road infrastructure and railway infrastructure during the colonial period. For instance, we noted that railway development started in 1896 at Ido in Lagos. Railway lines were later extended into the hinterland, while the development of roads continued to increase rapidly during the colonial period. So all of this facilitated commercial exchanges, the growth of the economy. Commercial goods were imported and exported largely during the colonial period through ships, while raw materials and finished products were transported to and through hinterland. Road transportation actually developed, especially within the present mainland of Lagos. And from 1930s, road transportation became popular in all parts of Lagos. Raw materials from the hinterland were also exchanged, with the Europeans, as we've noted. During this period, of course, the colonial period, there were some level of professionalism in the commercial activities in Lagos, as traders and artisans formed various associations and guilds. For instance, within the traditional setup, a section of the settlement was developed as a haven for blacksmiths. We have people who practice goldsmith, of course, in Lagos Island, particularly in the Idumota market, for instance. Quite an avalanche of blacksmith industry and also goldsmith activities actually developed rapidly in the colonial period. All of this contributed tremendously to economic development in the city in the 20th century. The role played by African elites also was quite significant in the development of trade. I've mentioned the names of the few African elites who contributed to the establishment of businesses: R.B. Blaze, J.W. Cole, J.J. Wright, and Z.A. Williams, Mohammed Shitabe. All of these Africans also propelled social interactions among Africans. I think so. One of the major contributions of Africans to the economic development of Lagos was also seen in the establishment of banks, which we'll consider in all of these in our subsequent class. Thank you.